That's all the sea was.
Plenty of seats over here. Thanks for coming. All right, 6:30. How's everybody this morning? Should be a nice day. A nice stretch of weather. It looks like we're about to get into the next 10-day forecast. Looks pretty good. So this week's code of conduct: drive safely, defensively, and courteously. Very important one out there. It's one of our big exposures out there. Is all the driving that we do, day in, day out. We put a lot of hours and miles on. So it's very important that we do focus when we are driving company vehicles, especially that we are taking the time, drive safely out there, defensively and courteously. One thing with defensively is just remember that following distance. I know it gets real more important in the wintertime, but remember that following distance. About 90% of accidents happen because we're always following too close. We don't have enough time to react and to stop before a collision happens. And then drive safely. One of our things and one of our biggest exposures and incidents that we've had lately is we actually had 2 last week is backing incidents. Backing into our own equipment, backing into our own vehicles, backing into other companies' vehicles. So it's very important with backing. Try to eliminate backing as much as possible. If you are backing, let's try to use spotters. All right, let's try to let somebody guide you back before you get too close to stop before we actually make contact and damage equipment. So again, it's a huge exposure, but I can't stress it enough. It's our biggest incidents that we have is backing incidents. So again, that could be a person. You know, we could easily back over somebody. So it's very important that we're looking out for each other. If you are going to back, let's come up with a quick game plan. Have someone there visually seeing it. If you can, through engineering controls, try to eliminate backing completely on your job site. Then we're A-okay. I have been seeing a lot more people backing into their parking spaces. It's another great way to eliminate backing is if just backing into your parking space that you can pull out and you avoid any conflict that you might have backing into traffic and things like that. So that's all I have on that. Hey, 92 days, another 7 days without a recordable injury. You know, we're doing a good job with that. So let's try to get to that 100 mark. You know, we're about 8 days away next week, and by next Saturday, if we can do it, let's just keep focusing on each other. Let's do those JHAs. We're just going to get busier and busier as the season goes. So it's that added potential that we have to really focus on and making sure that we're eliminating our hazards as much as possible and shrinking down our exposures. Right. So this week we're going to quickly just talk about respiratory protection. A couple weeks ago we did silica awareness, and I wanted just to try to emphasize on that. Really through engineering controls we want to eliminate silica, but I thought it'd be really good, especially some of the projects that we're kicking off with busting out concrete and cutting concrete, grinding and all that stuff, that we also talk about respiratory protection as a whole, but also how to, if we can engineer it out and if we have some exposures, what do we have in place here at Engineers Construction to avoid that? So this is something that last line of defense, that personal protective equipment, what we have to offer here at Engineers. So our respirators, what we have is our system here at Engineers is broken down into selection, medical evaluation, fit testing, and maintenance care of the respirator. It's kind of a summary of our program that we have. So the selections, the 2 that we offer is a dust mask. It's an N99 dust mask. And then we have a half-face respirator. Everybody should be well aware of these types of things. The biggest things with the half-face respirator is the type of cartridges that you choose to wear with those half-face respirators. We have P100s, which is for particulates, and then we have organic vapors, which is mostly used for organic compounds. What would be things like petroleum-based soils, or if we find some really impacted material with diesel and stuff like that that's overcoming or overbearing, we can throw these types of respirators on to work into that environment. Our program, how it's written right now, it's really as case by case, and we haven't really overexposed ourselves to these atmospheric hazard conditions because none of our jobs are prolonged over 30 days, over exposing our workers to levels of silica and also any like hazardous waste operations sites. So again, it is right now, it's kind of more random, job by job. Before you get into half-face respirator, dust masks, you don't need a medical evaluation, but a half-face respirator, so if you choose to wear a half-face respirator, or we might offer it to you if the job pertains to it, we're going to go to Champlain Medical. You're going to first fill out a questionnaire. It's maybe like a 3-page document. I think some of the people in this room has filled this out. And you're going to go to Champlain Medical, and they're going to kind of review that. And then they also will put you in a half-face respirator and give you a qualitative fit test, saying that the respirator that you're going to wear fits your face. There is no leaking seals with that, so it's going to give you that added protection in those type of elevated atmospheric hazard types of jobs. Part of the fit test, quantitative fit test. So again, sorry, when we do get into those situations, everybody's going to have to be clean cut and shaved, and you got to maintain that. So guys like Reggie with that big beard, no longer. So those are some of the things, unfortunately. So a couple last things here with the maintenance of care. This is one of the biggest parts of the OSHA standard, and where a lot of companies get citations from, is part of the storage of the half-face respirator. Something we just can't leave these in pickup trailers and tool trailers, stuff like that. They have to be put away in clean, orderly types of conditions. So what we have here is in that back room, we have all of our half-face respirators with everybody's labels on it. So we got these nice little baggies that we issue out. So here's an example half-face respirator with the baggie, so your name can go on it, and then you can put everything back in the Ziploc bag. That's a perfect way to store it. They can go in the pickup truck, but again, it should be free from any puncture, sun exposure, things like that, because again, this is all just plastic. So with a lot of sun exposure, there could be deformation and wear issues with ultraviolet lighting. So it's very important that how we have our program set up is one person gets one respirator. We don't share here at Engineers Construction, so it belongs to you. So you shouldn't be passing respirators along. But it's very important that you clean your respirator when it is needed to be dirt, when it's dirty, when it's deemed fit, to clean it out. I recommend try to clean it once a day or after every use before you put it back in the bag. Do a nice clean. We got disinfectant wipes. You can also use the sink that we have here, clean it in warm soapy water. Make sure it is dry before you put it back in the bag. If you put it back in the bag wet, you might start seeing some molding issues and stuff like that, and we have another health hazard that we have to worry about. So make sure we inspect these daily. All right, it is a volunteer program, so we don't have a lot of people that are issued this, but it is important that with respirators that we are doing our due diligence and making sure that we're inspecting them for any wear, cuts, breaks, make sure the flaps are working properly. You always want to don and duff your respirator before you use it on each day. We will help you with the cartridges. Again, with cartridges with a half-face respirator, they're really good for, really about a day in the P100s and about a day in a real dusty environment. They're organic vapors. Those work through absorption. So those, again, are kind of difficult, but you can kind of feel when you're breathing a little bit harder that it's a good time to change your respirators out. We have all this stuff readily available here at Health and Safety. So if your job is a fit for an atmospheric hazard such as real dusty environments and or any other type of chemical hazards that you might have, get with us so we can go through these. It's going to take roughly about a day to get through some additional training, but also that fit test, getting you issued out with a proper respirator, and then that medical evaluation. It's about a 3-page questionnaire, and then you have to actually go to Champlain Medical for a quick evaluation to make sure that your lungs can take breathing through a cartridge, because it is different. It's more stress on your body than one might think. Is there any questions when it comes to respiratory protection?
The hardest thing for us is deciding when to use the dust mask when we need a respirator.
Yeah, I agree.
Always.
I agree, and that's one thing that's coming down the pipeline that there is going to potentially, we'll see what happens in September. OSHA might be implementing the new crystalline silica standard, and they're going to set it at 50 micrograms per meter cubed. and that's going to let us know, okay, this is where we're overexposing our people. So we got to actually pull some data, do some air monitoring, some dust monitoring, I should say, in those environments. And once we standardize those workplace, we can try to eliminate it through engineering controls, which was wet cut or ventilation, or let's put guys in half-face
right
respirator.
now, when the target saw comes out, the dust mask comes out, should we be pulling out the respirator instead?
I would say right now with the dust mask, we are good. As long as we're wet cutting, we can. And again, it's all like, where's the dust going? Is it going right in the face, or is it blowing away? But again, we want to try to eliminate dust as much as possible. But again, last line of defense should be personal protective equipment, which is these half-face respirators. But dust masks, the ones that we offer are very good. They're N99s, and with the half-face respirator, they're really just 10% better as a half-face to a dust mask. But again, that's when the dust mask is fitted properly with a good nose pinch, and you don't have a beard, things like that. So those are some of the things. There's also great information. I know we don't always read the box, but if you go read the back of these and also the dust mask, there's a lot of good safety knowledge, safety information that the manufacturer provides to us daily on the box or these bags. Everything you pretty much need to know is all right there. Any other questions?
Most normal spot for leakage on them is right here.
Yeah, it's in the nose. Yep.
Take it off, you can see where it.
Yep.
The dust stripe can get through.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, with the dust mask, it's kind of a on the field type of call when you need to exchange those. If it's daily, or if it's half a day, it all depends on your workload. So get with your foreman. You got any questions? Talk to health and safety. We'll come out and we'll monitor and we'll double check.
The secret of the dust mask, if the glasses are fogging up, the nose piece is not properly adjusted.
That's a great tip.
It means the air is coming in and out by the nose.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, good job. I think you should have done the whole presentation wearing your mask, though.
I mean, it's very hard to talk with these. It's really hard to communicate with
You've
it.
got an assistant now, go for it.
That's a whole other safety factor.
Yeah.
That's it.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Respiratory protection. Okay, we've got a new employee this week, Richard Tortorino. All right, Richard, you here? Must be out in the field at one of the remote jobs. And for technical tips, we're talking about angles this week.
He's in Hyde Park.
So typically angles are measured by degrees, minutes, seconds, which is the way I think. And just the degree, of course, is 60 minutes, and each minute is 60 degrees. So there's 360 degrees in a circle, 60 times that per minute, and 60 times all that per second. But sometimes we measure an angle by radians, although I try to avoid to it. Okay. And you might recall that the circumference of a circle is equal to 2 pi r. So when you solve for r, you can figure out the number of degrees. If you make that, go back, calculate that. 57 point, basically 3 degrees of the radian. Well, kind of a goofy type of angle measurement, but it is out there. And what's interesting about it, though, is that by that definition, the arc length is equal to the radius. Kind of cool. So that means it's a dimensionless unit. Now, why does most people care? Well, they probably don't, except just have a point of caution here. If you're using a calculator and doing some kind of trig function, sometimes you can default set the calculator to radians. So you go plug in, say, a number like sine of 30 degrees, it should be 0.5. If it's set to radians and you put 30, it says, oh, 30 radians is what you want, or minus 0.988. So just something to watch for there. But it is kind of interesting. It's a dimensionless unit, and the radius is equal to the circumference at that angle of 57.3 degrees. So for project here, we're profiling the St. Mike's College Chapel sidewalk replacement. In Colchester, of course, right at the campus. And we're contracted with St. Mike's College to replace existing concrete at the bottom of the stairs And the work is also jointed to look like a cross. You can see we're putting it together and pouring it there and finishing, and then the final product, somewhat supposed to look like a cross. It's a little hard to tell, but they've got some different tool jointing that appears as a cross shape. I think it probably should have had us do some textured concrete or something of the cross area. Would have made it nicer, but it is there, so nice job. And then from the archives, I have a shot, an aerial shot again. This is the airport Federal Express ramp repairs back in September 2008. And see a nice aerial shot of the work. The FedEx facilities over there is one of the other delivery planes, and we replaced and repaired a section of the ramp. That's what we got. And have a good weekend. It looks like good weather coming. Be safe out there. Rodney.
How you doing, Joe?
Oh, there he is.
Fight looks good yesterday. I saw
Brian Magna, Brian Martell, Zach McEwen, Eric Herman, Steve Mitchell,
Don't know
Toby Rowe, Scott Moreau, Mike O'Brien,
kind of spied on guys trying
Matt
to.
Pickard, Adam Piper, Randy Piper, Chris Poppin,
I think one of our biggest.
Patrick Pratt.